Okay. Welcome everybody to the USA Softball Sport Development Series. This is a series of 10 topics aired bi-weekly with the goal being to educate all levels of softball across the board in a new, innovative way. We are all in the midst of a pandemic, but thank goodness for the internet. We love the ability to connect with other people, especially on important topics. I've learned so much during the pandemic and have taken the educational standpoint myself. So I think it's important that we cover these topics, tackle these topics, and get these players, coaches, umpires, everybody tuned in, the correct information coming from the top. I'm your host, Lauren Chamberlain. I was a former professional softball player, member of Team USA at one point. I now host an MLB show called Stacked. And I'm pretty much a softball advocate. Anything I can do to advance the sport, that's where you're going to find me. Right now, you guys are tuned into episode 4. This is recruiting. Recruiting is a hot topic in softball. The people on this panel know that. I can think of the panels that I've been a part of as an athlete and how many times I've been asked the question, what was recruiting like for you? What was your experience? How was your process? So we know this is a very hot topic, and I can't wait to tackle this with our panelists. So I have their stats right here. You guys look, I had to print this off because it's just absolutely padded. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panel really quick before we get started. So first, we have NFCA Executive Director, longtime NCAA Division I coach at Michigan, Purdue, and Louisville, over 700 career wins, softball television analyst for ESPN, SEC, ACC, and Big Ten networks, national speaker, clinician, and author, Carol Brugman. We're giving a round of applause, a virtual clap for you. Next, we have head coach of Howard University, trained 4 all-conference pitchers and all-region pitchers in 5 complete seasons of coaching. Unreal. Head of the MEAC leading offense, University of Nebraska 2012 graduate, and 2018 Chicago Bandits pitching coach, Tori Tyson. My girl. Next, we have first All-American in LMU softball history, member of Team USA in 2012, 2014 to 2016, played in the Japan Professional League in 2018 and 2019, inducted into LMU Sports Hall of Fame in 2019, and currently plays professionally for the newly formed This Is Us, Sam Fisher. Sam. All right, last but not least, we have named to the U.S. Olympic softball team to compete in Tokyo 2021. So you guys will be able to watch her next year in the summertime. 10-year member of USA national team, walk-on athlete at University of Florida, and involved in sport development and sport ministry, Michelle Moultrie. Yay! So thank you guys first and foremost for being here. Again, we talked about how stacked this panel is. I like that we have all aspects, right? All viewpoints. We've got players, we've got coaches, former players, we've got executive directors. I mean, we're coming at you all angles with so much good information. So we're here to talk about recruiting. Are you guys ready to do this? Everybody ready? Okay, we're going to kick this off really quick with Carol. Carol, first of all, tell us about your role at NFCA. What exactly do you do?
That's a great question. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate everything USA Softball does to grow the game, and just a pleasure to be here and an honor to be here with the women on this panel. Anything softball. I believe the NFCA, we're really the caretakers of the game. And so in terms of my role, we really develop educational curriculum to help coaches grow, which ultimately helps student athletes grow and helps the game grow. We do a ton of events. A lot of young ladies on this call were NFCA All-Americans. So, we run the awards program for softball. So pretty much anything and everything you think about with softball, we have our hands in it. It's a lot of fun. It's been just a real treat for me to be in this role because it really kind of combines all of my loves and all of my passion for softball into one.
I love that. Thank you for explaining that. Take us through the different options that players have post high school, because I don't think everybody knows all of the different avenues that they can take. So take us through that.
Sure. And, if whoever's listening on this call, whether you are a coach or whether you are a parent or both, a prospective student athlete, everybody is involved in recruiting. There's not one person that recruiting does not affect. And so it's a topic that's near and dear to everyone. And a lot of times the prospective student athletes or parents, especially if the parents haven't been involved in softball and or baseball over the years, you turn on the television and you watch the same programs over and over again, which are outstanding programs, but they think that's their options and that's the only place to go. But there are over 1,700, I'm going to say that again, 1,700 softball opportunities at the college level, at the next level. So a lot of times players out there think Division I, just because it's so visible, and there's 300 programs, right at 300 programs for Division I. But if you go to Division III, there's over 400 programs, and they're all a little bit different. Division III does not have athletic scholarships; they have academic scholarships only. But they offer a very unique opportunity, usually a smaller academic setting, and just as outstanding of a softball opportunity. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that there's so many junior college opportunities. There's 375 Division I, II, and III junior college opportunities, and the majority of those junior college opportunities have scholarships attached. And a lot of times I think the misnomer is out there, if you're not at a Division I school, you don't have the opportunity to have scholarship money, and that is not true. Division II, NAI, all the junior college levels, all have scholarship opportunities. So, the key is finding the fit that's best for you. And most importantly, taking charge. It's your career as a prospective student athlete. It's your experience ultimately. So doing your homework and finding the right fit for you.
Awesome. And Carol, we're going to come back to you later on to talk about those JUCO programs and the benefits to maybe possibly taking that route. Tori, you're up. As a coach, what should athletes be considering when they're researching schools? What exactly should they dive into other than their uniforms look really good?
One, I think it's doing your homework on your teammates. And I think that that's one thing that people don't really talk about, but I've had kids that are like, I'm a high academic student and I want to be a nurse. And then you're going to school with, and I don't like, this isn't offensive, but a bunch of comm majors. Like, I'm a comm major. So our values and how we value just education in general, or the time that we have to commit to our majors, are going to be different. So I think that that's something you can do on your own. Like, of course, every coach is going to be like, oh, you can major in that, or you can try to do that. But if you go and you're on your trip and everyone's majoring in commerce, so it's like, kind of do your homework that way. Check the area and make sure it's somewhere that you can see yourself living for 4 to 5 years. Your coaches don't have to live there. Your parents aren't going to live there, your friends. So it needs to be somewhere that you can see yourself thriving for the next 4 to 5 years. I think the coach is instrumental, but also I think that it's very dangerous to commit to a coach. At the end of the day, it needs to be somewhere that you would want to go without that coach being there. The coach is a facilitator of that university, but it needs to be somewhere you can see yourself being with or without that coach. And I think that for all of us, I think we all want to make some kind of impact and leave some kind of legacy. So commit to a university that you feel like you can do that at. Because when you feel like you have a role or a job, man, like that's the magic, that's the power. And people who have issues at college, a lot of the time when you dig deep, they don't see their worth or their value at that university. So just make sure that you're committing somewhere, or that you're looking somewhere that you can see where your value and your worth will be worthwhile at that school.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, back to, I had my fair share of injuries later on in my college career. And that's something that you said, if you were able to live, in this given area and thrive and have a good life outside of softball, that was kind of a criteria for me that I had, was if I get hurt or if somehow softball's not there, would I be able to live in that area? Would I still be fulfilled soul wise in that area? Talking about, on the same wavelength, being realistic in the recruiting process, I think is super important. I think that some players are sold out on a one-dimensional dream, and when they don't get that dream, it's kind of like D1 or bust, and there's a lot of missed opportunities. So talk about being realistic in the process. This is both for parents and for players.
Yeah. One, I think there is a home for everybody. And I think that that home isn't always going to look like someone else's home. Our journeys are all going to be extremely different. One thing, I had Marty, so I didn't really get to ever live in La La Land. I did once before. I still remain silent, but I was like, I'm going to go there. And I was ignoring everyone. And realistically, thank goodness I had him though, because I don't know how story
Right.
is completely different. So I think when we say be realistic, it's not a knock to your talent or your child's ability, but allow your child to go somewhere if they need that time to grow, and give them that. Because they're not going to be fulfilled regardless. If you send them
Right.
somewhere that they're not quite ready to be at, and it's not in a bad way. I think that go somewhere that you are wanted, where they see the value. I loved Nebraska. I would have people come and they'd be like, if she could go about 3 miles per hour faster, or if she could do this. Nebraska loved Tori for Tori. Shout out to R&R. But she loved Tori for Tori. So she was willing to take me where I was and grow with that. And I think that, like again, my dad used to tell us to look at it like dating. Like, you want someone that sees the beauty in you as it is, and is willing to grow with your flaws. So if you're committing somewhere that only has seen the bad in you because it's D1, then, I mean, you kind of know what you're getting into. So I think just be realistic about where you are. I think another big thing is everybody thinks this is like a full ride game. I'm a Division I university with 9 scholarships. I have never not recruited a kid because I didn't love them, or didn't offer them a full because I didn't love them and didn't want them to be a part of my program. Often I did, but I can only give you what's in my pocket. So if I don't have 100 to give you, it's not a personal attack onto you. And I think what I love about my Howard culture, there's not one kid that's on a full ride, and they know that. So at the end of the year, when money comes up, we really go by an order of how can we lessen out-of-pocket expenses for families based on their needs. Right. And you can't beat that kind of environment. So I think as I'm recruiting kids that also are adamant about, I want to help the team. So I want to get what I can get in academic money. I'm going to make sure I'm filling out my FAFSA, and I know how much I can get and keep and save money for the entire program. I think it says a lot about you and the family. And I think just being realistic, you guys, you see these teams with 25 people. There are only 12 scholarships at a fully funded program. Everybody is being a team player. Everybody on that roster is taking some kind of hit. So be realistic about what you're looking for when you go there. And remember that this is an investment. You pay just as much. Sometimes I've given offers where athletes were like, oh, that's a lot out of pocket. They're paying more in travel ball. This is a degree that is going to take care of you forever. So I think just understand that it is an investment in yourself, and you are worth the investment as well.
Yeah. And even to piggyback on that, going back to kind of what Carol was saying about the amount of academic scholarships that are out there as well. I think being realistic is also not taking it personally and saying, okay, this is my current situation. This is the reality of it. What can I do to use this to my benefit? Or how can I make this a good situation for me? So if you do have the smart saying, okay, I'm not in need of that athletic scholarship, I can get my academic scholarship here and make that work. So again, it's that one track mind has to go. I also believe in my personal 2 cents that wherever you end up is where you're supposed to be, and it's your 4 years to make it, right? It's on you to make the most of your opportunity. So being realistic is super important, guys. That's not an easy topic to tackle and to kind of look inwards and really like be realistic about the situation. But hey, Tori, you've never been afraid to just say what you want to say, and I love that because it's the truth. It's the hard truth that a lot of y'all need to hear. So appreciate that feedback. Michelle, we're gonna hop over to you. I'm so excited, Mish, to have you on this panel. We played together too, and I'm so thankful for that. I've known you for a long time, so I just like full circle moments. But your story specifically is so interesting, and given where you are now, you wouldn't think of where you started and what your story is. And I think it's so important to share, to show that you can, any way it looks, if you work hard, you can get to where you want to be. So talk about your process and how that led you to where you are now.
So I really didn't play like a lot of travel ball to what it looks like now. For me, like just the area I'm from, like I just was really unaware that like people were traveling all over the country, like playing softball. So I just played like a lot of local. I started playing as like in T-ball, and I played like a lot of rec ball, even when I was in middle school, high school. I would play like rec softball in the fall, and then school ball in the spring, and then either like an all-star team, or when I got older, we would travel. I was on more of a travel team, but I still didn't travel much out of like maybe 2 hours, 3 hours away from my house. So I just wasn't aware. I think there was like this softball world of travel that I just wasn't aware of. It just, I guess maybe in my city or my town, like that just wasn't like the culture. So I was just not really aware of a lot of things about college softball, that it was even an option. So I think even like exposure and how like more games are being on TV, I think is opening up just young women's eyes to see like, hey, I can do that. Like people from my area can, you know, maybe that's an option for me. Like for me, I just didn't see it enough to where it really didn't click in my mind that I could play at a level with anybody in the country. Like that just really never clicked in my mind. I was like, oh, sports at college is for people who are really, really good, you know, or something. So I don't know. I just wasn't really thinking about it. And then so in that way, I was very behind on recruiting. Like maybe when I was a senior in high school, I think I did start to develop, and I was still getting better at softball. And I thought that maybe like I don't want my career to end after high school. Like I'm still getting better. I still love the sport. And so I started to look into college softball and reaching out to coaches the only way I knew how, pretty much by email or something. And it was, I mean, almost all the emails were like, well, we're done recruiting. You know, if you would know anything about recruiting, you know that we're done by now for you. But I don't know, there was still hope. The one email that I got that was like pretty hopeful to me was from Jennifer Rocha at UF. And she was like, well, we have tryouts every year. So if you really want to come to Florida, you know, that might be an option for you. And so I think that was like just the amount of hope that I needed to decide to go there. And I already live close to Florida. I'm only in Jacksonville, about 2 hours away. So it was already a school I wanted to go to. I was very like academically focused in high school. So it's kind of cool, like what Tori said and what you said, Lauren, like I had some scholarship money from just my grades and my SAT. And I knew that, you know, that could help me to get on that team, and that could help me in college in general. So I wasn't necessarily thinking that I needed like this huge athletic scholarship, because I was really putting it all kind of in my schooling, I guess, and just letting that be something that I could kind of count on. I don't know, I just felt like I had more control over my grades than if a coach saw me or didn't see me. So yeah. So yeah, I ended up choosing to go to University of Florida, and then I went and I went to like their summer camp the summer before I started going to school there, just so the coaches could see me. And then so they saw me and just had some interest, and I guess thought I did pretty good. And then they allowed me the opportunity to walk on. And really, Coach Walton called me even before he didn't make me do like a individual tryout, but he was like, we'll put you on the team for the fall and kind of give you an opportunity, see how it works, and went from there. So I had like an awesome, I was really glad for them to give me that opportunity. And so I think just to encourage girls that maybe if you don't get the scholarship, once you get on the team, I think there's kind of like a clean slate. It's not going to be, the coach isn't going to play the scholarship athlete over the walk-on just because they have a scholarship. If you prove yourself to be better, you never know it's going to take you. So I think that's just a good message of hope for people as well.
Yeah. And trust the timing of your life, man. I mean, holy cow, that's just such a testimony to like whatever's supposed to happen is supposed to happen. I love your story. I think it's so cool. The recruiting process, we're going to stick with you, Michelle. The recruiting process gives a ton of emotion, and I'm sure that you felt that emotion. Was there ever a time where you were like, maybe this isn't going to happen for me?
Yeah, I think it was really disappointing because like I said, I was just very late to kind of having that desire to want to continue to play. And so by the time I did start reaching out to coaches, I was just getting a lot of like either people not emailing me back or not letting me know, whether it was going to be, I had a chance or not. But then pretty much all the feedback I got was we're done recruiting for your class. So that was pretty disappointing.
Yeah. And that's just a message to the girls that, I mean, you guys are going to be able to watch Michelle compete in the 2021 Olympics. And she has this story, right? She's been where some of you are, where you're like, man, I feel like my story might be over. I mean, if you have a desire to play and you want to go get it, there is a place for you and you can make things pop, right? So stick with your plan. Michelle, thanks for sharing your story. Sam, we're going to hop on over to you. So you played at Loyola. Talk about the key factors of choosing that school and take us kind of how Michelle did through your process.
Yeah, so I knew right away that I wanted to be close to home. That was something that didn't have to do with school or with softball. I knew that I wanted to be close to home. I wasn't ready at 17, turning 18 to be far away from my parents, and I knew that about myself. So I knew that first and foremost. So that really limited me to Southern California. And I remember my coach, actually, my LMU coach actually accidentally came to a field where I was playing. He was trying to go look at another player at a different field, and he came to my field. And my
Love
dad,
it when that happens.
like, you want to talk about right place, right time. So, so I remember after he had seen me, I was hitting at the time, and my dad came up to me and he said, "Sam, the LMU coach is interested in you." And I said, "What's that?" Like, I never heard of it, you know? So it was from there, he said, "It's in Los Angeles." I said, "All right, this is exciting because it's my first interest from a coach and it's 40 minutes away." So the other factors that kind of came into play for me was I wanted to go to a school where I had the chance to earn a starting position as a freshman. You know, I'm a lot closer to UCLA, which, being realistic in this conversation, I was not going to start as a freshman at UCLA. I wasn't necessarily a late bloomer, but I also wasn't at the playing ability that I was in my later years at LMU. So I wasn't going to start at UCLA. That was just that. So I wanted a chance to start as a freshman, play 4 years. And then I also really wanted to make sure that I was at a school that focused a lot on academics as well. And that was really big for me because LMU, the whole time I was there, I don't think I had more than 22 kids in a class. I had personal relationships with the professors. They knew my name, that kind of stuff. So those were the really huge factors for me, was that I was able to be close to home so that my parents could still come. I played in 214 games and my dad went to 208. So that to me was bigger than anything. And I did get the chance to earn a starting spot as a freshman and played in every game that I was at LMU. And LMU was one of the top business schools in the country at the time. So those were really, really big for me. And I think because I was in a place that really accept, like what Tori was saying, just really accepted me for me and was allowed me to be myself, and let me pursue the things that I needed to pursue in order to grow as a player and as a person, I was able to thrive in there. Now, there were times, that I wanted to win and we didn't win, of course. I wish I could have gone to a World Series or even a regional. I didn't even go to a regional. But thinking about it now and the experience I had for 4 years at LMU, and I truly believe it's the reason I'm even able to sit here and have this conversation. If I would have gone anywhere else, it might not have ended up in the same way. So those are my huge factors, and it checked everything off the list.
Yeah, I love that viewpoint. And, you know, thinking about regionals, missing a World Series, but you have, you currently are a professional athlete and you currently are a professional softball player, and you get to say, I play professionally. This is my career. So what is your message to young athletes that might see themselves on the same path that you took, that didn't necessarily go to a Florida or an Oklahoma or a big dog World Series contender, but are absolutely contributing in the professional scene?
I think that it's all about what you're willing to do. You know, being at LMU, becoming an All-American was probably a lot harder because I was going up against the girls who were in the Pac-12, you know, in my region. So having to not only perform, but perform even better, that's something that you have to be willing to face. Like, it is what it is, you know. Pac-12 is a lot harder than my conference. So knowing what you're going to face as far as getting noticed or getting that real spotlight or anything like that is just knowing that you're going to have to put in the work. So if you're willing and if you're in the right place that you can do these things, you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. You know, I've played with girls now that played in some of my pro teams, they played Division II, you know, and they're still playing, they're playing professional. So setting yourself up in a position to be on that path, I think is huge. And it's a lot of inward looking. You know, you have to look in the mirror and be like, am I willing to put in maybe even an hour extra work a day than maybe anybody else? Or what do I have to do to put myself in a position that they can't not look at me? So that was something that I know that I really had to take on myself, because I had to do extra work all the time. You know, I had to make sure I was on top of my game and didn't give myself any room for not performing. Obviously, we all have those games and those times where you're not doing so well, but just setting myself up in a position that I had to do this work so that they could notice me. And I think even now, you see, even in our time, the SEC just recently won their first national championship within the last 5 years, so 6 years. So you can see that the talent is spreading into different places. So I think a lot of people are realizing, you know, I can go here and still make my dreams come true, whether it's in college or post.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's a mindset that we can take into life too. Like, pump me up, fire me up, Sam. I'm getting really excited. I want to go play right now. Carol, we're going to come back over to you. JUCO, we talked about this earlier. This can be a path for many players. So talk about the benefits of JUCO and how that can be a time to prepare for a possible university after. Oh, unmute, Carol.
Sorry.
There you go. No, you're good.
Thank you, Lauren. Before I answer the JUCO, because it all ties together. You know, I coaching 25 years, that coaching hat is always on. It never comes off. And just hearing Michelle and Sam's stories, what really resonates in terms of it, and it leads into this junior college decision, is what Sam said about a coach kind of stumbling upon her. You kind of go watch someone else, and then you just watch the team they be happening to play. Can't tell you how many times that happens. And so for the players listening out there, you never know who's going to watch you at any given time for any given reason. Probably a third of the players that I ever recruited and coached or offered some sort of scholarship to, that exactly happened, where you're going to watch someone else catches your eye, and off you go, and it ends up being a fit. So, but most importantly, as a player, you want to play for the people in front of you and on the field, and not the people behind you watching in the stands, because you know, coaches notice everything, and you know, we want team players first, that's for sure. But in terms of junior college, as I mentioned before, there's 375 junior college opportunities out there, and the majority do have scholarships. I think there's 3 big advantages to go into a junior college. The first is cost. It certainly is less expensive than 4-year institutions. So you can save some money. And a lot of times when you're at a junior college, you're going to be taking your general ed classes. So it's going to cost you less money to get those general ed classes in that you're going to have to take at a 4-year school anyway. So that's kind of number one, is in my opinion, the cost. And then number 2 is just development. If you're going to be pushed and coached by collegiate coaches, and you have a chance to develop on a different scale, on a different level. And so you still get those same opportunities to be coached and to develop, but it's a little different environment. And probably the most important one, to go back to what Sam talked about, the ability to play right away. I mean, there's only freshmen and sophomores at a junior college institution. So a lot of times freshmen can come in, and as a matter of fact, junior college coaches are expecting their freshmen to come in and make some sort of an impact. So you have that opportunity to get on the field, get quite a bit of playing time, and get your feet underneath you in order to prepare for that next step to a 4-year school.
Yes. Tori, you're up. What characteristics do you look at in athletes other than their talent? What else are you looking for when you're recruiting?
I'm an extremely passionate person, so it is like impossible for me not to be able to be around people that can match that. And passion doesn't need to be loud or you're screaming, but you can tell when someone's enjoying playing the game. I don't want to get a kid that's already on their way to being burnt out, because now we're just a crash course. Like, I'm ready to change the world and change our program, and you're like ready for it to be over. It's impossible. It's not fair for either one of us. I can't meet you where you are. You can't meet me where I'm at. So I want, like, I wasn't a great athlete, to be honest. I just put on a show. I did. I loved what I was doing, and I loved being in the circle and being the center of attention. And I literally would put on a show. And so I enjoyed, like, I think all of us can think back, our recruiting process. We used to, like, I wanted to go beat Batbusters or the Firecrackers, whoever it was. We weren't worried about who was watching us compete. We were just trying to win. And so one thing is, I don't think that, like, recruits really think about, we are exhausted. I mean, if no other college coach will admit it, I am after an extremely long day. So what intrigues me is good softball and like someone competing. You catch yourself sitting there like, wow. I mean, if I see a kid just honoring the game and that's sprinting on and off and it's just in their DNA, I'm going to want to stay out of respect for what they are doing. So I'm really, really big on that. The kid that's picking up the equipment at the end, I think those are just little things that I kind of take notice to. And I want young women who are either in the process of learning how to talk. So how I talk to you on the phone is so important for me. Because I know my personality. So I don't want to be like an attacker or like mean. Like I want a strong young lady that I can groom. And so I want to sit on the phone and I want you to be able to hold a conversation, not with your mom and dad in the background giving you an answer. I want to be able to talk on the phone with you about your vision and your dreams. So I suggest talk on the phone, like literally practice on talking on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm not about to text you. I'm not about to make this commitment for us committing to each other for 5 years through an email. Can we talk? Can you listen? Can we hold a really good conversation? So those are things that as I'm going through the recruiting process, I'm big on it academically. Again, I have to package. I have 9 scholarships. So I absolutely, and I'm at a very high academic school now, but I absolutely go look at that GPA and at those test scores, because at the end of the day, if you can't help the team overall as far as packaging money, you better be dang good. If I know you're not going to be able to help us at all in regards to putting some money towards the pot with your academics and stuff. So obviously that's something for me. And, just to kind of piggyback on Carol's statement about junior college, I think that at the end of the day, we all are in different journeys academically. And I have had student athletes that have struggled off and on through high school. Why not take a year or two and get used? Because now you're going to add in 6 a.m. weights.
Right.
Just the rigors of being a student athlete. And you have the opportunity to go to a junior college and kind of sample that out in a more controlled environment. So I've had athletes that I've absolutely fell in love with, but I have feared, can they handle, right, this schedule? And that's me, the coach, being an adult too, that I know that they were not ready at this point in their life for what it is demanded of us as Division I athletes, academically and athletically. And so I have suggested that they take a year or two at a junior college, which, I mean, there's probably something wrong with me. I should probably just be like, get in and we'll figure it out. But I got a little mommy guilt. And that's how I would want my daughter to be handled in a very realistic way. But at the end of the day, as parents, it might be worth you having that tough conversation, because you don't want to send your daughter to college and they're constantly in a hole. They're constantly trying to crawl their way out of academic probation and stuff like that. So sometimes I think junior college is a great route for that, just to get used to the schedule and the demands.
Tori, I want to play for you. Like, I want to go back. Like, can I go back and go? Like, can I go back and we can work this out somehow?
Carol, is there a way? Carol,
but we're on the same wavelength passion wise, so I feel like we would be a good fit. I'm gonna stay with you for a second. What, if you're willing to share a story, what has kept you from taking players? Like, have you had situations where you're like, man, like I had a good feeling, now I don't? Talk about some things that might keep you from taking a certain player.
I'm going to go a weird route here. I know a lot of coaches, like, they won't touch a bad parent. I don't believe in blaming children for their parents. I am not one of that.
You heard it here first, everybody. You heard it here.
I don't believe in that. That is not fair. But that's why our conversation. So I've had it where, okay, well, like if I can't talk to you and kind of see that you, right, have something in you that's brighter and better than kind of what your parents have demonstrated, that scared me a little bit, or just the fear of competition. That worries me a little bit. Those just warning flags. I love Sam being like, I want to come and make an impact immediately. And I'm sure that there was a third baseman that you had to go beat out there, and you did. So just that kind of hunger, right? That matters to me. There have been issues. One thing is, I think people often lie about grades on their profile sheet. Don't lie, guys, because it's
interesting.
Like it's gonna come out. And so there's just no point. I've had to, and it's unfortunate because it's late in the process, and I get it. You may not have felt good, but it's better to put what your real grade is. Maybe something happened your sophomore year,
right? Or
and then you can explain that. So I've had to do that and take it away. And then social media. But my thing with social media, there was once I had to do it, not because of opinions. Like, I'm not one of those, like, I'm an opinionated person and I am passionate, so I'd be a hypocrite. But just just ignorance of like cussing or, you know, and so that was one. I mean, we do obviously have to see your social media because it's reality. I just had someone write my administration about a kid that had HU softball commit in her bio. So that matters. I've had to pull before because of those issues as well.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. So players that are watching right now, social media does not go unchecked, and not just your tweets, your likes. Okay, I'm going to say that to you. Not just your tweets, your likes. That's going to tell everybody about exactly what you're really feeling. So make sure that your social media is ready to go. But I like that you were able to share that because that's a lot of, sometimes they go, oh, I didn't know. So now y'all know if you're tuning in, you're able to understand that there are things that coaches are like, nah, I just don't want that in my program. So be aware of that, players.
And one last thing is I think the growth part. I am not one that like, okay, I committed a 13-year-old and she doesn't look as good as she did at 17. But I do think like I like to stay in contact with people I've committed because your passion should not change, like I was saying. And so a lot of times when kids lose their passion, you're not getting as much tapes and videos of them working out anymore. This is a business agreement and this is how I feed my kid. So I absolutely need you to keep that same hunger and that same work ethic throughout your time. And again, that's not performance because I get it. I might go out there and you go 0 for 3 and I see you for one game. But you can just tell when a kid's been putting in the work and when it still means something to them after you verbally committed. So I've had to pull once just because it was clear that those goals and those missions that I originally committed to had changed.
Right. So
Hey, Lauren, can I add one more thing on that?
Absolutely.
Just one more thing. Bottom line is, too, in this climate, I will say the last 5 years, I can promise you, and I used to do this as well, but in the last 5 years, there's very few coaches who don't walk up to a travel ball coach and say, tell me your best character kids on the team. And you know, some of the travel ball coaches will look at us, or look at the coaches like, well, don't you want to know my best player, my best pitcher, my best hitter? You know, tell me the best character kids you have on your team. And so then, you know, off the story goes, because the coaches, we can figure out talent. You know, we can figure out talent, but a lot of times what we don't know is all of the things Coach Tyson was talking about. And, you know, if the coach is honest and gives you those answers, then, you know, now I can watch 2 players on the field and decide.
Right.
As you all know, coaches are being investigated and coaches have all these other things going on. And if you can recruit on the front end, high character players who also are talented, a lot of things work out and everybody's happy and off you go. So to me, that character piece for the young ladies listening, it's critical. Be a good student, be a good human, you know, be respectful. It goes to social media, it goes to everything. Be a great teammate, because I can promise you the majority of coaches out there, that's what they're looking for more than anything. They can handle the talent, they can develop talent, but it's that character piece that goes a long way in programs.
Yeah. And a little personal story. When I was getting recruited, I had just got bumped up to Tony Rico Firecrackers. So I was feeling really, you know, I was like, whoa, this is a big weekend. And it was an Arizona showcase, my first showcase. And my first run-in with coaches in college coaches was the weeklies at Tennessee. And I was like very, very nervous. And they put me at shortstop. And I remember I botched a ball. I mean, my first chance at short, ball goes directly under my glove, which is just like cardinal sin. And then the other one eats me up, kind of hits off my shoulder. And I think I cost us a couple runs later in the game, came back and ended up, you know, hitting those runs back, which was good talent wise. But I was like, there's no way, like just based on the 2 errors, there's no shot they're going to call me back. No way. I ended up getting on the phone with them a few weeks later, and they explained, you know, they were ready to go. They were like, let's go, let's do this. And I'm like, wait, what, how? Like there was something inside that was like, can I ask what you thought? My defense was terrible. My shortstop ability was awful that game. And they had said it was your ability to bounce back. I mean, I was thinking it and feeling it. I didn't say it or show it. And that's something that we used to do on the field as well. So my ability to bounce back and stay mentally in the game to end up, you know, scoring those runs back for my team offensively was something that they take note of. So players that are watching, be aware. Passion is great. We understand that it hurts when it hurts, but be aware that there's more game left and that coaches are watching your response to things as well. Next question for anybody that wants to handle it, because I'm interested. Okay, this is my question. What is the transfer portal? Like, what's the hype? Because everybody talks about it. There's like it's like a list on the news now. Like, I feel like I'm going to turn on the news in the morning and there's going to be a transfer portal, segment. So talk about it. What is this?
Unpopular opinion, I love the transfer portal. I think that it is actually a safe zone for us, because at the end of the day, because people aren't having enough of the conversations like we're having right now, I think people often commit to places, or we make these agreements and contracts with each other that probably shouldn't have happened in the first place, right? Because they either had someone in their ear like, you need to go D1, and so they go somewhere that they didn't necessarily love. And I think that what you're seeing is, at the end of the day, the transfer portal has been around. It just wasn't called the transfer portal. It was called the travel ball coaches, and it was called the teammates and the friends who would just call each other and be like, hey, I'm looking to transfer. This has been going on. I think the transfer portal now just puts it all out there. If a kid is on the portal, you know that there is a part of them that does not want to be a part of your program. And so for me, why is there this urge to keep that kid in your program? Like, please, I want to know who doesn't love my university or me anymore, because they're going to be a problem. Now you just get to see it. You get to see them on there. And I truly do believe that we're all human, right? Coaches leave, and we don't have to put our name on a portal. I think we're all in a hunt to find our forever home. I think we just need to do a better job of making better decisions on the front end. And then it won't be an issue. And I think that, again, because people are like, oh, well, I'm leaving because my coach left. That's something we discussed in this. If you did your homework on the front end, it wouldn't matter who left, because you love your university and you love where you are. I know that's unpopular opinion, but I just think it's been around. I have a dad in travel, and you and I have been in travel. People were transferring long before. What we need to be concerned is, how were they transferring before? What kind of conversations were going on that you were never privy to? So that's my thoughts on it.
Well, I call it the transfer shopping network. It is what it is. But as Coach said, it's been around forever. People could transfer all the time. There's nothing that's changed in the rule. What I know we're going to work very hard on in the softball community, now that the NCAA has a transfer working group and they've been working on different types of transferring, probably won't be long before you'll see football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball be able to transfer like every other sport, which is the one-time transfer rule. Right now, they have to sit out. What's not good for softball is that you can transfer mid-semester and play.
The timing, right.
So softball and lacrosse, we're trying to kind of close that loophole that it says, sure, go ahead and transfer and do it. It's, as you all know, it's very difficult that mid-semester for the programs that the player leaves. There's no way you can, as a coach, recruit somebody in a month and replace them. But Transfer Shopping Network, I think on the positive end, it's much more convenient for the student athlete. It's easier, as Coach mentioned, for all the college coaches to see who is available. So the ease of sharing information is better. I believe, and I know there's still a lot what's called tampering going on. Even though the way to do it is to put your name on the transfer portal and then start the process. I can promise you that's not always the way it goes. There have been several players who've gone into college coach offices and says, I'm leaving, and by the way, I'm going to school X, and there's no way that should have already happened. So there's still tampering going on. There's still a lot of that behind the scenes, and that shouldn't be happening, but it's a lot easier. It's the information's all out there. I think what a lot of people don't know is that 65% of student athletes in all sports that go in the transfer portal, and softball is even higher right now, it's close to 70%, don't find a new home or don't find a scholarship.
Whoa.
That's a big misnomer. You have hundreds and hundreds of players that go in the portal and then they never go find another place that they don't play. And so there's a big misnomer out there that if you go in there, you're going to find this great place. And that does happen. Clearly, it is the Transfer Shopping Network. A lot of people, they do find a home and they do find a match, but the majority of student athletes that go in the portal do not find that new place and find that scholarship and find that roster spot. So that's why it's so important to do your homework and know what you're getting into. It's just like, I also believe it's kind of the big talk, Lauren, because as we all know, in the last 10 years, the amount of movement on travel ball teams has also increased for various reasons, fill in the blank for whatever reason that might be. And so there's no doubt those same athletes now are finding that, it's a little easier or acceptable to kind of move around. So I don't have a preference on positive or negative with the portal. I think it's positive in terms of the information is shared. It makes it a little bit more convenient on both sides, but there's a reason a lot of players are in the portal. So you got to, as a coach, you've got to dig and find out what that is, and if it's a fit for you, and you have a need for someone to come in. But just because you're in the portal does not mean you're going to find a new home. So
interesting.
That's very important that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. Well, thank you for both sharing your viewpoints, because I feel like my transfer portal knowledge is full now. Sam, did you want to add something to that?
I have just like a personal story on the whole transferring thing. And I don't know if this is something that a lot of people know, but after my junior year, I went into my head coach's office and I asked if I could transfer. And I love everything that both of you guys have said. And so that's why I wanted to just like say this story, because it was heart-wrenching for me to go in, because I am telling you, I love everything about LMU. It was absolutely my dream school, but I hate losing. And it came to a point where even my mom during the summer, she would tell me, it's really hard to watch a World Series with you because I know you want to be there. Mm. And that was something that was hard for me, because I want to win. I wanted to win. And so having lots of conversations with my parents of, maybe I can go somewhere that we can win. And so I had to go in and have that conversation with my head coach. And I think he really understood, and it ended up that they weren't going to release me to the West region. So I couldn't go to an Arizona, UCLA or anything. And I don't know if you know this, Lo, but Kehlani actually went in and talked to Patty Gasso about potentially having me come there. But there was no money. So we financially couldn't do that. Right. So I'm a huge believer in everything happens for a reason. Not in a sense of, well, I was forced then to stay at LMU my senior year, but the signs were saying, no, you absolutely belong here for your senior year. And that was my All-American season. So yeah, I fully—
That's a cool story.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I don't want it to look like I didn't want to be at LMU, but because I totally agree with what Tori, with what you were saying about, if somebody doesn't want to be at your program, do you want them to be in your program? And I agree with that. But it was one of those decisions where it was like, is there somewhere better for me? And the answer was no. And so I think that was huge for me to then go out and be like, you know what, I do belong here. This is exactly where I need to be. And it worked out exactly the way it was supposed to work out.
And yeah. I'm glad you shared that story, Sam, because if you, today, if you would have went into the portal, because now you don't even need to go tell your coach you're leaving. You just have to go to the compliance officer, and in 48 hours, it has to be up on the portal. You don't have to go talk to your coach. It's a whole different landscape. Most do, but you don't have to. But you did. You had a conversation. But if you would have went in the portal on your own, obviously a school can take you back. But I can promise you most don't. And so you may not have even had an opportunity to come back. So the portal, again, there's pros and cons to that, but because you didn't put your name in something and your coach did, there's a lot of webs to the portal. There's a lot that people don't understand and everything around surrounding it. But I think it does give people an opportunity to get the information out there. And of course, if it doesn't work out, that there may be another place to go.
Awesome. Love the insight. Michelle, you're going to handle a fan question. Okay. This is a fan question for you. Talk about your jump from high school to college. What was your biggest transitional piece there, and what adjustments did you need to make?
I think I really loved, I love softball even more in college. I love the structure of it. I love like practicing for hours and hours on throwing and fielding and just team defense and things like that. I think like a lot of people, even as we're talking about doing your homework, seeing like where you might fit. A lot of people have this idea of they would love to play at a D1 school for the kind of glory of it, but they don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time practicing or want to give up a lot of your social time and things like that. And I see a lot of people kind of not make it through big D1 programs because that might not be something that they didn't realize how much of a lifestyle change it was. But for me, I just really like it. I like the structure of college softball. I love being a part of a team and just working like all year long to come down to, it's all on the line for one certain game or something like that. I loved it. And I also, I liked kind of transitioning. I think at the end of high school, You know, I was starting to get like a little bit more power in my swing and things like that. But then as I got to Florida, it was kind of just a transition for me. Even as a player, what our team needed at that time was just like a speedy on bases. I need you to be on base. I don't need you to hit a home run. And so for me, I had to change kind of my mindset, even of how I'm going to play, how I'm going to fit onto this team, and what does this team need right now. And so, yeah, there were some really cool transitions for me. And I think just being as a player, like sometimes you graduate high school and you come onto a college team, there might be an All-American in your position. You have to learn how to adapt and how to change positions and just do what's best for your team.
Awesome. Well, you guys, recruiting, we could clearly talk about this forever. I feel like we could go hours and hours on this, but we hope as a panel, as a host, that you guys watching got the information that you needed on recruiting. I know there are so many other questions, so if you guys do have questions, feel free to reach out to these lovely individuals personally, and I'm sure, you know, Carol over at NFCA can answer your questions. Tori, thank you so much for sharing your coaching side and what makes your program tick. Sam, you're incredible. Good luck with the rest of your professional season. You're in the middle of it. And Michelle, we're going to be rooting you on in 2021 in Tokyo. We're so excited for you. Big shout out to USA Softball for providing the platform to get this information out to all aspects of the game. This interview is going to be housed on USA Softball's Facebook page and then also at usasoftballeducation.com. So 2 platforms that this interview will be homed. Housed. Best of luck to everybody. Follow along on USA Softball's Instagram and Twitter for more information on the series, and keep up with your USA Olympic team. Cool, you guys. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.